All right, so it's your girl, Banks. I'm here with Brent Wiliams for our first episode of Tea Mingle. Today we get to talk about everything. Get to know Brent a little bit more on a personal scale and also get to figure out experiences within the modeling world. So Brent, give us a little bit about yourself. We'll start off with what's your Instagram handle? Where can we find you? You know?
My Instagram handle is underscore Brent Wiliams, underscore BRENT WILLIAMS. You can also find me on models.com. If you just go on models.com and type in Brent Wiliams, you can see a lot more of my professional work.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, selfies.
Huh?
I said not just the selfies.
And not just the selfies. We love to see it though. Okay. So give us a little bit of insight about you. Who's Brent Wiliams? Like, we get to see you, as you said, through the selfies, through the Fairs photos, but just give us a little bit more about you so we can kind of like snoop a little bit.
Snoop a little bit. So I was born and raised in Brampton, which is just outside of Toronto. It's a part of the GTA where I spent most of my life. And before I started modeling, I was always heavily involved with fashion. So I studied fashion at Humber College. I took the fashion arts program there.
Oh yeah, me too.
And through that, I worked in fashion marketing. I did a little bit of fashion PR, online content creation. And then the office 9-to-5 life started to set in a little bit. And that's when modeling kind of started to become more of a goal and something I wanted to take more seriously.
Okay. And how did you know that modeling was something for you? Like what went off and you're like, I need to be a model?
So it was always kind of something that followed me around because I was always into fashion. It was something that kind of followed me around for quite some time. It didn't occur to me that it would be something that I could do full time until I took my first trip to Korea. And when I started actually traveling and modeling, that was when I realized I was like, oh, this can actually be like a thing. Like I don't just have to do test shoots and try and book work in Toronto. I can go to other markets where there's a lot more work available.
Mm-hmm. And like from there, did you just like how did your family like go about that? Like sometimes it's a little bit hard to be like, hey mom, I want
I
to
want to be
a
a
model.
model.
Yeah.
In regards to my mom, her thing was like get an education, like get a background in what you're gonna do before you do it. And for her it was kind of the same thing where it was like she was like okay until like I started traveling, and then she was like okay, and then it was she just wanted to know that I was at least taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's easy to say, oh, I want to do modeling, and then like you kind of half do it and you're like half involved. But so it wasn't until I like started like picking up and literally leaving that she was like, okay, like do your thing.
And I think that's like most parents, they just want to be like, okay, you can financially take care of yourself. You look like you're doing something, even though you can be like, when I'm traveling, I'm actually not a model, I'm something else,
You'll never know.
Never know. But like, they just want to see that you're actually doing something with your time, and it's like a new introduction to I don't want to call them old heads, but you know what I mean? Like our parents are not used to understanding and seeing like, oh, modeling, you can actually do something, you can actually make it a career, So that's pretty nice. That's pretty neat. And how did your mom was less after she saw you going, she was just like, okay, there was no back and forth altercations or anything?
No, she just wanted to know that I was serious about it. And since I've been consistently serious about it, she's completely a huge fan of me. Like she has all of my magazines, like
Okay, nice.
yeah,
Nice.
like she's super supportive of me doing it.
That's good. We love to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads into how long have you been modeling for?
Give or take, it's been about 4 or 5 years. I've dipped in and dipped out a couple of times. But yeah, so I would say about 4 or 5 years I've been doing it consistently.
Mm-hmm. And 4 or 5 years, it's not a long time, but it's a long time. So now that we've kind of bumped into the quarantine of things, unfortunately, how have you stayed productive through this time? Like, what are some things that you've done to stay productive?
Well, now that I've officially ran out of things to watch on Netflix, um,
Yeah.
I've been really just trying to focus on my skincare. That's been my main thing. 'Cause I never really had a full skincare regime. And now that I had nothing but time, that was one of my things that I really wanted to get in the group of doing. And I have picked up yoga as well. I've been trying to use yoga to stay in shape. And besides that, I've just been really doing a lot of writing, because we're all at home and we're basically left to face ourselves, right?
Yeah.
There's no external distractions now. Now it's just you and yourself. So to avoid going crazy, I've really just taken this time to further understand myself and write and reflect.
Okay, that's good. And would you be willing to share maybe what are some things that you wrote about and that helped you even reflect right now?
I think in my relationships with people, that was probably a big thing I had to sit back and reflect on. And when I say that, not everybody is for everything, and different relationships and friendships or even dating, people are good and they have strong points in different things. So you have to know how to set your expectations for the relationships that you get into with people. And I think that was something, because I was traveling a lot, like my relationships here were, it was always a balancing act. But so now that I'm actually here and like the people who are in my life are physically with me now as well, it's just been almost like a rebalancing of like who to go for this and who to come to for this, and just knowing how to navigate my relationships again.
Okay. I feel like that's very important though. I feel like this time has been a time where people really just took time to really reflect on who they were engaging with, who were in the circle. And as we all know, a lot is going on in the world, and there's a lot of social justice and change that is being made. And I feel like people too are just taking that in, like, who are the people in my circle, who are my friends, who are these people, and those relationships too, like how am I being respected, like, actually just taking that time to just self-evaluate. So I feel like that's also really important, for sure.
Necessary steps for sure.
Gotta take them, we gotta take them. Okay. But that's pretty good to know. One thing that I wanted to kind of track back on when I was asking you like how long you've been modeling for, 4 to 5 years, it's like, when people think modeling and they see modeling, they just think this glamorous lifestyle and everything, but there's always the back ends. But at the same time, what are possibly 3 amazing things that you've encountered in modeling? And what are 3 horrible things that you've encountered in modeling? There's always the pros, but then there's always the cons. And just some of our insiders, a little bit more of your experiences.
I would say let's start with the good.
Yes, always. Why not?
My 3 amazing things that have happened in my career that I hold dear. Definitely the first one was getting my first worldwide campaign, and that was with Samsung, the S8 campaign. I was living in Korea at the time, and then Samsung had me flued out to Australia, where I got to spend 10 days in Sydney and 10 days in Melbourne.
Okay.
And Australia was one of those places where I was like, oh, it sounds cool, but so far away. It was never on my radar, really. So I got that experience, and I'm really grateful that I did.
Nice.
Next one would be getting to experience like the cultures in specifically Cape Town, South Africa really spoke to me, as well as when I was in Greece.
Okay.
Just because Toronto, Canada is such a melting pot for culture. that we have a little bit of everything, it feels at times. So to go to these countries where they have such a strong sense of culture, it was just such a new experience for me. And again, it was such an opportunity for growth, and it was just so beautiful. And I would say my third one would probably be just while in quarantine, I actually got my first cover in Paris in April. So that was a really like huge monument for me. And again, my mom has her copy. And so, yeah, that was really, really, really cool to get that.
Nice. And what was the
And pardon?
magazine's name?
Mauvier Paris.
Mauvier Paris. Everybody tap in. Mauvier Paris for Brent's first cover. Let's go.
And on the negative side of things, so it's tricky because of course I've had certain things said or done to me. So I've had a designer tell me I knew I needed to book a Black model because I wanted to target rappers with this collection. Or I've had show directors pull me out of a suiting show because, quote unquote, I was yo, 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 and then put me into the athleisure wear. And then even big things like clients not wanting to rebook me because they used the Black model last season. So although these are super negative things, the part that hurts the most now is what I had to go through to bounce back from that.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, I felt like the least valuable person in the room. And that kind of extended just beyond my time being in Asia. It affected my relationships and my existence when I came back home as well, because that narrative, almost as if like a symptom of PTSD, was still running in my head.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember, I don't remember the year exactly, but it was Christmas time, and Christmas was at my house this year. And my family's getting ready, we're all getting ready, and I had an overwhelming amount of anxiety building up just because I am often the like laughing, bubbly person in the room, but I've had this horrible experience that has like been weighing on me, and now I have to find a way to balance the way I'm feeling and the expectation that I know my family is going to have when they meet me, right? So it was just like the matter of like reprogramming my brain and like getting out of these negative stereotypes and narratives that have been put in my head through my experiences. So yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I'm still working on it. I'm definitely not in the place that I was before in terms of my healing, but yeah, that's I gave you 3 things that were said to me, but I more so gave you the repercussions of those 3 things and the events surrounding that as well, how that played out and affected my life for a couple of years.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still a large scale. You know, I can't imagine someone saying, "Yo, yo, yo, I need you for an athletic shoot," or and like take you out of a men's suit. Like, you know what I mean? Like how that could also affect your identity and how you see yourself. You know what I mean? Like just even the value of like, you know, comparing a suit worn to somebody that's athleisure, where just taking you from that pedestal of what would be like successful and blah, 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 to something that's just only good for physical, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a turning stone, and that's why it's so important to have you here, because a lot of people just need to be aware of like the effects that models go through, especially Black models. It's not easy. Overall, it's not easy to be a model, but now imagine being a model of a certain skin tone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When engaging and going through these experiences, have you ever thought like, I don't be a model anymore. This is not for me. You know, like have you ever second guessed being a model again? Especially now that, you know, hopefully quarantine can clear up a little bit more. And we can go back into a regular life. Is this something that you would want to be indulging in again?
So at the time when I was going through these experiences, I mean, I love modeling. I still love modeling. I don't plan on stopping.
Mhm.
But at the time, my mentality when these things were being said to me and these things were happening, my mentality was, all right, just keep your head down. Don't make too much of a fuss, because if you make too much of a fuss, then what if they don't book another Black model? So it was like, keep your head down, be easy to work with so that you can essentially or hopefully guarantee the spot of the person that they're going to book after you to maybe have a bit of an easier time. But fast forward today in the climate that we're in now, in terms of like Black Lives Matter movement and all of the social justice that's going on, there was a point in this new era we're in where I was like questioning whether I could continue to do what I was doing in terms of modeling, because it was like, this was the role I was playing in my mind, and the way that I feel now in terms of what's going on, I can't do that anymore. I don't see myself being that person that takes the beating in hopes that the next person after me doesn't get beat as hard. I have too much to say at this point where I stand now. So it was just a matter of me going through that in my mind and like feeling okay with speaking out now rather than just being quiet in hopes of remaining peace or remaining neutral. I can't do that anymore. So through the learning process of getting to that, I did often question if I was still going to be able to do modeling.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine, because it's just like, obviously it's your passion. And I feel like when we're younger too, we're so naive to these things. Like, I just want to do this and da 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 da. But then as we continue to grow and go through our experiences, and then you just get hit with these realities and you're just like, whoa. But like, even you being here doing this, you're opening doors for other models that can possibly be able to experience what it actually means to be a model without being in situations that are discriminated, towards them. And because of that, we appreciate you. We definitely do. I know it's probably had such like a deep toll on you, and like for you to like unlearn these things. And as you say, you're not going to be holding back anymore when it comes to just expressing how you feel, and also just knowing the the, the empathy that should be behind all of this when it comes to working with a human being. You know what I mean? So like, because of that, are there like some steps that you may want to like introduce, or not introduce, but kind of expect from the industry to kind of not make this happen again in some sense?
For me, I just think personally what I'm dealing with now is one, being a light. I had a very narrow-minded opinion of what that should be, and but that has always been something I aspired to be. And for me, what that was you deal with your stuff in the darkness. I write about it and cope with it and deal with it, and then I'm able to put my happy, bubbly personality forward.
Mm-hmm.
And even in this interview now, what I'm trying to do is convey my hardships and be vulnerable, because there's light in that as well. Because
Yeah.
through me sharing these experiences, hopefully whoever listens to this or hears it may feel heard, seen, or represented in this moment, right? And there's light in that as well. And that's kind of what I'm working towards now. And hopefully other people can start to just admit to your humanity, because
Yeah.
we're human, we have feelings, we go through these things. And that's what I'm aiming to do now, going beyond just being a photoshopped picture, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the industry, it's bigger than the industry. On a global scale, what I think needs to happen is accountability. And
Very
what I
important.
mean by that is not just holding yourself accountable for the things and thoughts and prejudices we may have, but also holding the people around you accountable as well. And just understanding the simple fact that your opinions aren't always valid. And when I say that, I mean, when you meet somebody who is of a different minority group than you, and they share their hardships with you, just believe them, or simply just listen to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever research or books or videos you may have watched about certain minority groups is nothing in comparison to that person's actual lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that's one of the biggest problems that I see amongst people, is that we want to have opinions on people's lives and their experiences that we've never simply lived. Like, you as a Black woman, me as a Black queer man, have, although there's similarities, I will never in my life walk a day as a Black woman. So how could I possibly form opinions and have biases towards your experience when I don't know it? I can read about it, I can watch a video about it and try to understand, but in my heart, I will never know it. So when I hear people speaking from other groups that I don't belong to, I simply want to learn. I want to listen to understand. Forget whatever opinions I may have had in the past or whatever. At this point, I want to hold myself accountable to hear your experience and learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what everybody needs to do now, is just take the time to actually listen to the experiences of people beyond just the Black community, the queer community, the women, trans, all of these groups that exist, that we aren't a part of. We need to start listening.
Yeah. And it's very important, because just something that simple can take us far beyond where we are right now. And it's very important even for something like that to relatively happen here in Toronto really fast, because we're growing as a city and we're growing as a community. And as you said, we're so diverse here. It's not like, you can go to one place and it's just like you see one group of people. It's like so diverse to the range that you have to really just take the time to understand. And as you said, simply listen. There's only so many research you can do. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, and I think what also needs to happen is start also looking for information that challenges the beliefs that you already have. Because if you have a prejudice against a certain person or a certain group of people, you can find, and there's everything on the internet. You can find anything to support your ignorant ideas.
Yeah.
So start looking for things that'll challenge you.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that, even for me, I've been taking steps to try and listen to the other opinions. And I know there's been criticisms of like the Black Lives Matter movement, like as an organization. There's been criticisms of the organization. Fair, I'm not going to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But my experience as a Black gay man is still very real. So to try and diminish that because you don't agree with an organization is pretty messed up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a lot of just listening and accountability that needs to happen across the board.
And I hope this video can get out to our peers, and this can hint that you just have to simply take accountability and listen. And overall, just listen to your experiences, as you're saying, and know like, okay, you know what? Because there's so many new agencies and companies that are opening here, even within the city, that they could be like, you know what? I know not to make this happen next time. I know not to make this happen next time. So that's why it's so even important to just have you here. Like, it's so, so important. That's why I'm so happy that you had like joined this conversation, because I feel like in the next couple years, these should be things that aren't affected in the industry. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, we shouldn't be going through, slight depression due to the fact that we went to another country and we were just beaten, taking on all these things. And especially for youths, because it's just like, I'm Black, I'm male, I'm a gay. And it's just like, boop, 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 all these punches that are hitting you. And it's just like, but you have other real issues that you have to also go through, where it's just like, this is, I could only sympathize the experience that you went through, and just like, I don't know, in a sense, praise you for staying this strong, and also just thinking about not even just yourself, but the others that be may coming behind you. And this is why representation matters so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's young Black kids that are wanting to be models and stuff like that, but because for example, there weren't opportunities that were open to other Black models, they weren't even able to open this path. So thank you so much for even considering and following your dream, just like following your dream and wanting to become a model. This is like so important.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you even just giving me the opportunity to speak and share my story, because, you know, in the industry that I'm in, it's really difficult to be more than just a picture. But
Yeah.
I feel as if I'm more than that, and I'm somebody of depth, and I'm always happy to get opportunities like this to speak. So yeah, thank you. I really, 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 really do appreciate it. It means a lot.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just like looking here at some of my questions that I had for you to make sure that we're on track. You know, I don't
This.
want to be like rambling on for too long, but I still want us to have important conversations and get them out there.
Mhm.
So we talk about like da, 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 da. So now that, you know, with everything and the experiences you've gone through, really the question is 5 years from now, what do you expect to see happen in the industry? And also, are there some steps that you'll be taking to kind of help with this change?
Um, in terms of the industry, I hope to see that uh, inclusion becomes something more than just a performance, and
Mm-hmm.
it becomes something that's actually integrated in the industry, all industries. Um, and on my behalf, beyond just trying to, again, hold myself accountable, is just find more ways of allowing myself to be vulnerable, so that other people do get to maybe see me, hear me, or however they come across me, and like relate to me. Um, because that's, like you said, representation lacks, right? And I find also, because of the lack of representation we have, it's like when, let's say, Beyonce just put out Black is King.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's people who watched that and had Black people specifically who watched it and had a problem with it, because, well, I'm not in there. I don't see myself in there. And I think these type of ideas come across our minds often when other Black people try to push pro-Black narratives, is because the representation lacks. And it's like, it's impossible for one Black person to encompass everybody, right? But if we have more Black voices and more Black artists and more Black creators come forward, more and more people will feel represented, and the pressure for one Black person to represent an entire race will lessen, because
Yeah,
we will feel more seen.
yeah, for sure. And I totally agree. And that's why this, even just Teen Mingle, is so important, because it's just like, let's come together. Let's bring this together. Let's have these conversations and let's work on change to make it happen, even if it isn't for ourselves, but as you said, the next generation that's to come after us.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, like, you've been in the modeling world for a bit. Um, what, well, not what, but I've seen that you dropped a new single, and was wondering if you could share that, because, you know, you've been modeling for a while, but you've also are engaging in different aspects of the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, so the single was honestly born out of complete anxiety and stress with what was going on. A partially of what I was talking about before, where I was battling, how am I going to do my job now still when dealing with all these feelings? So this was kind of my way of voicing my stance and how I felt about the people in my life, and the things that I was seeing going on. Um, so the song's called What If It Was Me. It's on all streaming platforms now.
Oh.
And this was just, like I was saying before, me taking steps to allow myself to, one, have a voice and be seen in my highest truth, and
Yeah.
completely being vulnerable. Um, and again, not trying to be a light in a way that is controlled and pretty,
Mm-hmm.
but be a light in a way where people can relate to me on my hardships as well, because we all have hardships, you know. And so with me releasing music now, and I am working on more music, slowly but surely I am.
We love to.
It's just me trying to be transparent about my experiences and relate to people and show people that we are a lot more alike than what we are told, if that makes sense. Because even through all my traveling, and besides my tough experiences, I've seen more common ground and middle ground amongst people than not.
Yeah.
You know, we all want to be loved. We all want to laugh and be happy, and these are things that exist globally. It's not just like a North American, you know what I mean? It's not just a North American thing. And like, I think the more I allow myself to be vulnerable, the more I can also just connect people. And that's what I hope to do.
Yeah. And it's important. And just to know that like you even took a step, you're like, what's another creative outreach I can do so that I can reach out to more people? I think that's also pretty amazing, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like also once you're just a creative, you're just a creative in general.
To be honest though, I have to give credit for me actually putting the song out to one of my friends, Sharika. You met her, dance studio owner, shout out House of Fame. Anyways, I had sent her the song because I've always written music, I've always written poetry, but it was my form of therapy. It was for me. It was never to be shared. But Shrika had been aware of what I was going through at the time, so I sent it to her just to be like, "Hey, girl, I know like we had some like dark conversations, but like I created this, and I got myself. I've calmed myself down." And then when she listened to it, she was like, "What the F? Like, this is good. Like, this is not even about you anymore." She's like, "I think you need to release this." And it was that kind of push that I was like, so I wasn't that brave in terms of like, I wrote this song, I'm about to drop it. No, she put her foot on my neck. And it was, yeah, she put her foot on my neck and was like, "You need to put this out." And I was just like, all right. And then I put the blinders on and just kind of ran through the process of getting it done. So I didn't have time to get doubtful or be anything but, I guess, brave, because there was no thinking. It was just go, 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 go. And then it was out. And then I was just like, all right, well, it happened.
Like when you crush a text and you run from the phone?
Very that. And like, just like looking, like texting the sound engineer, just like staring at the phone, like, am I really doing this? Like having those moments, and then just hitting send, throwing the phone, and like, all right, I'm out. It happened.
Basically. Well, congratulations on that, by the way. You know, being a creative too, you know, you gain these type of vulnerabilities, and that was another vulnerable level of yourself too, right? From showing your light. So congratulations on that. Thank you for sharing it with us. And I do hope to see more music too on the way, because
allegedly, we'll see.
I'll be patient. I'll be patient. Brent, thank you so much for tuning in on Tea Mingle and just sharing these experiences. If there's anything, not that if there is anything, tell us something or share something with us before we leave. You know, maybe any tips or advice for any other models, Black gay models that are wanting to step into the industry. You know, what is a tip or advice that you can give away with us to end this?
Well, for the world, accountability. Like that is my word. 2020 is the year of accountability. Like that is my word. But in terms of anybody wanting to get involved with the entertainment industry, you are always going to run across people who will try to tell you who you are, what you should be, how you should look, et cetera, the works. So it's just so important to spend the time getting to know yourself and finding a sense of self, and having a core that you can really hold on to. That way you can bring the best version of you into any situation that you go into, because it's really, really easy to fall off track. Trying to fit into these other narratives that clients or your manager or your agency or whoever tries to create for you. But if you go into it with a certain sense of self, you can really carry that with you. And I think that sense of self is the originality and the uniqueness that is going to give you a successful career and a career with longevity. So that would be my word of advice to anybody getting involved with modeling or entertainment or anything like that. Just hold on to your core.
Thank you so much for that. That's something I had to also learn with myself growing up. So that is a very, 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 very important thing to know and to keep and to keep in mind. So important. Yeah. Again, where can we tap in via social media, modeling work, and single?
So on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, all streaming platforms, you just type in Brent Wiliams. The single is called What If It Was Me? It's my first single, first of maybe, possibly, hopefully many. And then on Instagram, it's _Brent Wiliams, _BrentWilliams. And then you can also check out some of my professional work on models.com. So you just hop on models.com and you type in Brent Wiliams and I will pop right up.
Perfect. We love to see it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. And again, everybody make sure to show Brent some love. This will not be the last time you see him. I guarantee you that. So let's tap in, everybody. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you
you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak. This is so important. This is so amazing what you're starting here. And I am so excited to see what you do with it. And I am so, 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 so grateful for being your first guest.
Yay!
And I hope I get to see you soon when all of this craziness is settled down.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all the love. All right, guys, that is it. Tea Mingle, Brent Wiliams, Banks. You already know. Done know what it is. You heard. Bye.
Bye.